So, a group of Hollywood industry leaders, it's actually a Jewish industry organization called Creative Community for Peace, are calling on the Emmys to rescind their nomination for a Gazan girl who has been documenting her survival in Gaza. So the documentary, or it's a series of videos that have been put out. Al Jazeera has been producing them, and this is following Bisan Auda, who is in Gaza, and the series is called "It's Bisan from Gaza, and I'm Still Alive." Sorry, just can't help but to choke up a little bit. Um, let's just play a little bit of Bisan's. We've got a little compilation of some of the videos that she's been putting out there that has really given her the spotlight and what has earned her an Emmy nomination. Watch this.
Hi everyone, this is Rescind from Gaza. I'm still alive, but I can't believe that it's been 6 months since Israel started bombarding us. So we have been through several attacks and escalations and wars against Gaza. And since the beginning of these attacks started in the last October, we thought it's a matter of days, weeks, or maximum month before returning to our homes. But now, 6 months later, more than 32,000 Palestinians have been killed, and more than 13,000 of them are children. 70% of our infrastructure, of Gaza Strip infrastructure, is destroyed, and 1.7 million people are forced to displace their homes. Everything we knew about Gaza before has disappeared. Everything.
If death had a smell, I'm smelling it right now. Behind me is a bombing happened last night in a displacement spot in a Lance area. Around me are tents where people are still inside these tents because they were told that they are in a safe area. Last night, this bombing by 5 to 6 rockets, as people told me, resulted in the killing of 40 to 50 people.
Okay, so she's up for an Emmy, but the Creative Community for Peace, which is a Jewish entertainment nonprofit, is calling for the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences to rescind the Emmy nomination for Bisan Auda, the Palestinian journalist who the organization says the reason why they want it rescinded is because they say that she is a member, not of Hamas, but of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, also known as PFLP, a U.S. designated terrorist organization. So they're saying that because she's been affiliated with this organization, now mind you, she's 24, 25 years old, and the PFLP was designated a terrorist organization because back in the 70s and even in the 90s, from the 70s to through the 90s, there was a lot of, I guess you could call them, I frame this way, acts of terrorism, I guess. And the reason why I say I guess is because terrorism is defined by whoever wants to define it as terrorism. A lot of us think what the IDF is doing to the Palestinian people is terrorism. What the Zionists have been doing to the Palestinians for 75 years is terrorism, but they're not. They were at one point labeled as terrorist groups, but they're no longer labeled as a terrorist group because they just were legitimized in the eyes of the world. But one group that's, who's to say who's legitimized and who isn't legitimized, right? The Palestinians are not legitimized. So because of that, any sort of uprising that they do that is similar to what the IDF does to them, killing, bombing, raiding, any of that type of stuff is considered terrorist when the Palestinians do it. When the IDF does it, it's considered war. So there's a difference there. But there's 150 different people who have signed this. This is a bunch of Hollywood elites. They've gotten together. They've put their names on this. They've gotten a lot of people signing this as well. They've got over 150 Hollywood Jewish executives. This is a Jewish organization. Specifically, they say that it's also a pro-Israel organization. So, there's that. Now, what they claim that she's done, let me just pull up. They actually link in their letter. Let me just read part of the letter for you. This is what they say. Dear members of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, we, the undersigned members of the entertainment industry, are writing to express our strong opposition to the Emmy nomination of Bisan Auda for the 2024 News and Documentary category. The Emmy nomination for It's Bisan from Gaza and I'm Still Alive is deeply troubling, given the creator's history of promoting dangerous falsehoods, spreading anti-Semitism, and condoning violence. Bisan Auda's affiliation with the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, a United States designated terrorist organization, raises serious ethical concerns that cannot and should not be ignored. Honoring someone linked to an organization that has caused so much pain and suffering is not just irresponsible, it is a direct affront to the values we hold dear in the entertainment industry. Let me ask any of these guys, here they are, over 150 of them that have signed this letter. Do any of them expect to get any Emmys? Because I would say if they're going to attempt to rescind the Emmy from this Palestinian who's supporting of the PFLP or any Palestinian organization, whichever one it is, and you're going to say, well, they support violence and terrorism, so therefore they shouldn't get an Emmy, then none of these people should either, because they're pro-Israel. And Israel is actually doing a lot more damage than any of these other Palestinian organizations have ever done to them. That is just a fact. The IDF has killed more Palestinians than the Palestinians have ever killed in the entire They've killed more Palestinians just in the last few months than the Palestinians have ever killed throughout the history of the conflict between the Palestinians and the Zionists. So none of them should be up for any awards either. In fact, if we're going to go down that road, they're supporting terrorism they're supporting criminal behavior. According to the ICC and the ICJ, they're supporting criminals. So you know what? None of you should get any awards either. So they go on and they document Bisan's history with the PFLP. So let's kind of read through some of this a bit. They say that in late July 2024, the Emmy Awards nominated her for the Qatari-owned outlet AJ Plus for their series It's Bisan from Gaza. They're also upset, by the way, that Al Jazeera is not forced to register under the FARA Act. The hypocrisy of this, right? They're just so mad that Al Jazeera, which is a Qatari-funded news outlet, isn't being required like RT is required at this point for all of the people that are involved to register under FARA Act. But the minute you say, well, all of you should be because you're with a pro-Israel organization and you're trying to lobby politicians, you're donating money to all of you should be also labeled then you should have to register under the FARA Act because you're working on behalf of a foreign country, not even just a foreign-owned news outlet. We don't make journalists who are working for the BBC register under FARA or Sky News. They're not required to register under FARA, but you are if you work for RT. And now they're complaining that if you work for for Al Jazeera, you're not either. And they're mad about it. Well, you guys should all be registered. Just a lacking of self-awareness here. So they're saying that following the nomination, it was discovered that Bisan is a member of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, which has been designated as a terrorist organization by the United States since 1997. Founded in 1967, PFLP became infamous in the 70s for its multiple airplane hijackings. Its members also participated in the October 7th massacre that resulted in the deaths of over 1,200 people, including dozens of Americans, and involved the kidnapping of 250 people, including American Israeli dual citizens. But for one, this Bisan is 24, 25 years old. That means she was not alive at all in the 70s when the PFLP was hijacking airplanes. This is like saying we've got to punish all Irish people because they at one point were affiliated with the IRA and that was a terrorist organization. So, well, and actually probably a lot of these people would like to label the Irish as terrorists again because they support Palestine. They go on to say in 2020, the Washington, D.C. based Al Jazeera, a subsidiary of Qatar's Al Jazeera Media Network, was ordered by the U.S. Department of Justice to register as a foreign agent of the Qatari government under the FARA Act, stating that the outlet is controlled and funded by the government of Qatar. Al Jazeera has not yet registered and is thereby openly violating American law. Okay, again, so are all of you for supporting Israel and not going and registering under the FARA Act. Both Auda and Al Jazeera have glorified terrorism and expressed anti-Semitic sentiments, right? It's anti-Semitic anytime you show any support for Palestine. When they talk about the rise in anti-Semitic acts, the rise of anti-Semitism, they specifically are meaning anybody who says, I support Palestine is now doing something anti-Semitic. That is what the ADL classifies. They said that there's now thousands of incidents of anti-Semitism in the United States. And when you read what they're classifying, literally protesting on behalf of Palestinians is an anti-Semitic act, according to the ADL. They're saying evidence of Bisan's PFLP membership. In 2014, Bisan opened the ceremony commemorating the PFLP's 47th anniversary in 2014, where she invited attendees to observe a minute of silence and reverence and respect for the martyr's sacrifice. In 2015, Bisan spoke at a rally in Gaza, celebrating the 48th anniversary of the founding of the PFLP. She wore full PFLP military garb. By the way, these are when she was a minor. So in this country, when you're a minor, you're not actually totally responsible for anything you did when you were under the age of 18. So them bringing up all of these things when she was technically a minor is low, like really low. 2016, because who knows if her parents were involved or, like that's why you can't hold minors accountable for things. I mean, some things we do if it's really egregious, but something like being involved in a political organization, we don't know what her parents were thinking or what Bisan thinks now. But the only thing that they have is all stuff from when she was a minor. 2014, 2015, 2016, Bisan served as the master of ceremonies at the 49th anniversary rally, which bore the slogan, "Uprising and resistance are the path to unity and liberation." In 2018, Bisan hosted a PFLP event honoring Palestinians injured in confrontations with Israeli soldiers and the deceased PFLP member, Sami Shakwi Mahdi. So she had like a vigil for Palestinians who were injured and killed. Also in 2018, the PFLP referred to Bisan as part of the Progressive Youth Union. Again, she was a minor. Progressive Youth Union, which the PFLP explicitly acknowledges is the youth framework of the terror organization. These people are, okay, so they drag out all of this stuff from when she was a minor, and they're like, so therefore, now that she's 24, 25 and surviving the genocide that we support, she shouldn't get an Emmy for her very courageous work and very moving work that she's done documenting what's been going on in Gaza, not just and her family and how they've had to move over and over and over again. All of that is what she's documenting. They've been displaced over and over and over again all throughout the Gaza Strip, and she's been documenting this. It's incredible what she's been documenting from her lens, and for all of us to see what it's like for an average Gazan during this time and the displacement and the bombardment and the death. And she's documented that. And these people want to rip away her Emmy nomination. So they're saying, they also say that she supports terror and anti-Semitism because, according to the Jerusalem Post, Bisan justified the October 7th massacre on her Instagram page, writing, quote, "For every action, there is a reaction. This means what was expected after 75 years of occupation and 17 years of siege. What was expected of us? Would the families of the prisoners remain silent?" So they're mad. They're saying that that's anti-Semitic and that is justifying. It's not justifying, it's explaining. October 7th didn't just happen out of nowhere. And nobody except for those who are just blinded by their pro-Israel love are the only ones who think that. Everybody else in the world understands that there's been an oppression going on for 75 years and people are going to rise up. Naturally, any human being would. It doesn't make them terrorists. Every single human being would. And they would too. And in fact, Jews did in the ghettos. There were many uprisings. Many of them fought back. Another thing that really upsets me when I hear a lot of the Jews today that are saying, well, we're not the Jews of the past. We fight back. That's bullshit. Plenty of Jews fought. What a disgrace to say that when there were so many who actually did rise up and try to fight back during the Holocaust, and to crap all over their memory and their efforts by saying, well, we're not the Jews of the past. We fight. They didn't. They just laid down and took, it's just really kind of warped mentality there. Also, they say that in July of 2024, Bisan posted on X that Israel is occupying every corner of the world, evoking the anti-Semitic conspiracy of Jewish manipulation and control of world events. Well, they are trying to get her Emmy nomination reversed. So, when people say Jews control Hollywood, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm hoping that the Emmys, at this point, they're saying that they're not going to revoke the nomination. They're holding firm. But if this group actually succeeds, then it's only going to play more into the idea that Jews control Hollywood, that, Jews control the media, Jews control the government, Jews control Hollywood. When people start to see things like you're not allowed to speak up at a campus protest because the university presidents are going to be fired over it, if there's protests or encampments. When we see lawmakers saying, I stand with Israel and I'll do anything for Israel. It's not like people just made this up. When they say Jews control Hollywood, and then you've got a bunch of Jewish Hollywood executives trying to take an award nomination. It's supposed to be an independent body, the Emmys. And if they succeed, people will point to this and say, see what we're saying? This wasn't born in a vacuum. So I hope that the Emmys stand strong. If I were in Hollywood right now, if I were Jewish and in Hollywood, you believe me, I'd be calling up the Emmys and I'd be like, please, please, please keep her nomination. Whatever you do, keep her nomination. Because if you get rid of the nomination, then everyone's going to say, see, we told you, Jews control Hollywood. And you would just be literally doing the very thing that they're accusing. And then there would be no way to really say that's not true when this happens. So if I were Jewish and in Hollywood, I'd be like, whatever you do, allow her to keep her nomination. And I think all of these others should reflect on this a little bit. What we're seeing all the time is there's a rise in anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is alarmingly high, right? We're hearing this in Congress. We're hearing this in media. We're hearing this from the ADL. We got a lot of people on social media saying this, that anti-Semitism is alarmingly on the rise. Well, this is what's causing a lot of that anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism isn't just in the DNA of all Gentiles. And suddenly, every once in a while, we just get really jealous and we just decide to sprout our anti-Semitism, and it just comes out of nowhere, just from our jealousy or something. I mean, that is kind of the thinking rather than actually looking at the actions. And when a group of powerful elites get together and they bully a 24-year-old who is surviving every day, going from tent to tent, not knowing where she's going to eat, sleep, or if she's going to survive a bombardment by the government and the military that they support. Have a little bit of self-awareness, guys. This is what's causing people to say, you know what? Not only do I not like Israel, but they're becoming anti-Semitic. They're becoming anti-Jew in general, because this is not a group of Israelis. This is a group of Americans. These are American Jews. And they're out there and they're saying, we don't want this girl who's just barely surviving to have any joy in her life. How dare she? That just causes people to turn on Jews. And then look, I said this on social media this morning, and some people jumped down my throat and said, how dare you say something like that this type of behavior is causing anti-Semitism? And I'm like, wait a minute, you guys have been saying all this time that anti-Semitism is on the rise, that there's an increase in anti-Semitism. I'm sitting here agreeing with you and I'm telling you why. And yet somehow I'm a bad guy for just showing you which way the wind is blowing. The wind is blowing and I'm just telling you which way. And you can't get mad at me for that. I'm telling you why. It's this type of behavior and lacking that self-awareness. And rather than saying, you know what, this is not the way to fight back. If you fight back like this, people are going to there is going to be an increase in anti-Semitism. And this would be for any group. This is not just for Jews exclusively. This is any group. When one group is committing atrocities, when atrocities are being committed, people are going to naturally be against the group that is championing those atrocities. If you're championing those atrocities, people are going to be mad about that. And they're going to blame you as part of it because you would be complicit because you're championing it. So when it's 80% of one group that's championing it, people start to say, what is going on here? What is being taught within this tribe that is getting them to think that this type of thing is okay? And people are starting to question that. So and then when we see they come out together in groups and say, we want to take away your free speech. You're not allowed to boycott Israel. BDS is against the law. You're not allowed to win an Emmy. You're not allowed to go to college. We're going to ruin your lives. We've seen these posts from elites saying we're going to ruin your lives. We're going to take note of every single one of you participating in these protests. We're going to ruin your lives. These are the types of things that breed anti-Semitism in the United States and around the world. So stop doing those things. And maybe actually just reflect and look at what's happening, what a foreign country is doing, not even your country, a foreign country is doing to a group of people, and maybe reflect on whether or not it's right or wrong what they're doing. And rather than just go with what you've been told your whole life, actually reflect on whether or not it's right to be bombing children. This is not war. War is groups of people in uniforms with weapons going at it with each other. It's not a group bombing children sitting at a dinner table trying to survive. That's not what war is. So have a little bit of self-reflection here, but this is, all this has done is up. This isn't rallying people and saying, oh, you guys are right. We shouldn't give an Emmy to a poor girl that's just trying to survive the onslaught that you're championing as you go over to Israel and sign the bombs. How many of these people on this list went over there and signed the bombs? I'd love to know that. How many people on this list have gone over there, have said on their social media accounts that these Palestinians deserve the death, that the children deserve the death? And yet, is anybody calling them out and saying they don't deserve their awards? That's what I want to know. Hey guys, this was just a clip of a longer show. Catch the full show by going to KimIversonShow.com. It is free. It airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. You could go back now and watch this full interview. I highly recommend it. Again, go to KimIversonShow.com. Thank you so much for watching.